Krillin's often perceived to be one of the strongest, if not the strongest human in all of Dragon Ball, and regardless of whether or not you agree with this notion, there's no denying Krillin's power and skill. In fact, characters that have attempted to deny Krillin's strength by underestimating him have usually paid the price. So let's go through the character's history and look at all the times said characters were proven wrong. Results of Roshi's training. Remember how much of a little rascal Krillin was in the early days of Dragon Ball? As a kid, the bald monk bought girly magazines in order to train with Master Roshi, and was quick to throw Goku under the bus in order to advance in said training. But luckily, he and Goku eventually became the best of friends. On top of gaining an unbreakable bond of friendship with Goku, Krillin also gained a ton of strength and skills from his first bout of training with Master Roshi. In fact, the amount of strength that Krillin gained surprised even their teacher, specifically in how he and Goku could easily move a giant rock. For context, in order to gauge just how strong his new students were, Master Roshi asked Krillin and Goku to move a rather large rock. However, both martial artists were able to easily move the rock, so Master Roshi instead asked them to move a much larger boulder, which they both struggled and failed to do. But cut to 8 months later, and the young martial artists were able to move the rock easily. Krillin's distraction tactic. Training Krillin wasn't the only time Master Roshi would underestimate the young monk either, since when it came time for his first World Martial Arts tournament, he found his student to be much stronger than he anticipated. As most fans of the series know, Master Roshi disguised himself as Jackie Chun and entered the World Martial Arts tournament in secret. Why? In order to teach his students not to get cocky if they were to win their first tournament. By showing Krillin and Goku that there will always be someone stronger than them, he could teach them perseverance, ensuring they'd continue to aim higher in their training. Although this was his goal, it didn't mean that fighting his students was an easy task. While Master Roshi was much stronger than Krillin at the time of their match, the young fighter ended up gaining a very brief advantage in the match. We're of course referring to the fact that Krillin saw ahead of time that Jackie Chun was just as perverted as Master Roshi, not knowing that they were one and the same, obviously, and used it to his advantage, luring him with a pair of women's panties before kicking the old fighter out of the ring with a powerful kick, a strategic move that Roshi was not expecting. Jackie Chun won in the end, of course, but Roshi still significantly underestimated Krillin. A match between friends. Though Krillin and Goku never got to face each other in their first tournament, they did manage to get matched up in the following World Martial Arts tournament, and in this fight, Goku quickly learned not to underestimate his friend. While Krillin may have lost this match, in a rather embarrassing way given that he was literally scared out of the ring, he did manage to put up a really good fight. Throughout all of this, there were several instances in which Goku underestimated how much stronger his friend had gotten while they were training separately for 4 years. One of the best examples of Goku underestimating Krillin came when he was knocked across the ring by Krillin's punch, which came after a flurry of attacks and was thus unexpected by Goku. Other highlights include when Krillin's bald head reflected the sun and blinded Goku, and when Krillin inhaled air to slow his descent, both of which were great bits of comedy to balance out the fight's intensity, and showed that Goku somewhat underestimated his friend's ingenuity in a fight. Facing Piccolo Jr. Fast forward once again to the next World Martial Arts tournament, and Krillin was pitted against one of the strongest fighters he had ever faced, Piccolo Jr. This was yet another instance in which Krillin lost his match, but he still put up a pretty good fight, significantly surprising his much stronger opponent. In fact, this fight was almost exclusively Krillin surprising Piccolo with how well he was able to keep up with him. Just take a look at some of these clips. Piccolo thought himself to be far beyond a human like Krillin, only to get bombarded by surprise attacks, powerful techniques, incredibly fast movements, and very effective counters. While Krillin lost in the end, it's worth pointing out that Piccolo didn't see fit to use all of his power at the beginning of the fight, a mistake that almost ended up costing him the match. Krillin, Destroyer of Saibamen. Going into Dragon Ball Z, Krillin didn't really start the series looking all that strong, since he got slapped by Raditz's tail, but he managed to turn things around when it came time to face Vegeta, Nappa, and their Saibamen, where Yamcha hilariously died at the hands of the self-destructing Saibaman, leading to one of the most meme-ified moments in the series. Krillin was there to pick up the slack. And we seriously mean that, since Krillin managed to take on and kill 2 Saibamen by himself. Though he wasn't strong enough to take on the Saiyans, he wrecked 2 opponents that were enough to overpower Yamcha on their own. Well, maybe that's not all that impressive of a feat since, it's Yamcha, but the point still stands. No one, especially not Nappa or Vegeta, were expecting Krillin to overpower and kill 2 Saibamen with a single blast from his scattering bullet energy blast technique. Destructive Destructo Disc. One of the biggest reasons that fans think of Krillin as the strongest human in the series is because he created the Destructo Disc. While the attack seems simple on the surface, there's much more to it than just a flat ki blast. The Destructo Disc creatively spins a massive energy so it acts in the same way as a supercharged buzzsaw, making for a very effective attack that quite a few other Z fighters ended up adding to their arsenal. On top of the attack being significantly powerful and creative, it also managed to impress Nappa, in the sense that he almost got annihilated by it. Well, maybe that's an exaggeration, since Nappa was incredibly strong, but the point is that Nappa wasn't expecting the Destructo Disc or its destructive power, significantly underestimating Krillin's attack and skill as a fighter. Seriously, Nappa was just going to stand there and take the attack as though it was nothing. Vegeta literally had to tell the big dumb oaf to get out of the way, since he had no idea what kind of attack it was. Wooing Android 18. This one is a bit different from the rest, since it's not about Krillin's battle power being much more than his opponent expected or anything like that. We're talking about Android 18, specifically her relationship with Krillin, how the unlikely couple came to be, and how she underestimated his kindness, selflessness, and caring nature, all of which led her to fall head over heels for him. Android 18 first paid Krillin attention when she gave him a flirty kiss on the cheek, which Krillin took as a sign that she wasn't as bad as she seemed. His little crush leading him to spare her when given the choice to detonate the bomb planted within her. Speaking of that bomb, when Krillin asked Shenron to remove it from her and Android 17's bodies, she was taken aback, both from this wish and his prior failed attempt to make her human again. In other words, Android 18 underestimated Krillin's kindness. His unexpected selfless acts in the form of sparing her, and his wishes eventually led her to develop feelings for the short, bald martial artist. Impressing himself. By the time of Dragon Ball Super, Krillin had more or less retired from the life of martial arts, working as a police officer and living peacefully with his family instead. But when Frieza was resurrected and arrived on Earth, he answered the call to hold off the Galactic Tyrant while waiting for Goku and Vegeta to arrive on the scene. Man, a whole lot of Dragon Ball is just waiting for Goku to show up, isn't it? Regardless, in this instance, we saw Krillin exceed the expectations of someone he had yet to break the underestimation of, himself. When Frieza's army was unleashed upon Earth, the Z fighters were quick to take care of a large percentage of them, Krillin helping out as best as he could. But after so many years of peaceful living, he didn't feel all that confident in himself, thinking he wasn't strong enough to take on an army of elite space warriors. But then, he fought one-on-one with a soldier and found that the soldier's attacks were weak and easily dodgeable. Turns out that Krillin was doubting himself for nothing, underestimating his own abilities that were far greater than he thought, skills that allowed him to take on a whole group of soldiers without breaking a sweat. Sparring with Goku. Aside from working as a cop and using his martial arts power to help in his job, Krillin continued to live his peaceful life for a majority of Dragon Ball Super, finally taking up his gi once more when it came time for the Universal Survival Saga. Prior to the actual Tournament of Power, Krillin went through a bit of training, namely in the form of sparring with an opponent to test his might. The first sparring match that Krillin had before the Tournament of Power was against Goku, which seemed way too uneven at first, but Krillin managed to impress Goku in a number of ways. For one thing, he was able to hold his own against Goku's base form, a feat that Goku was likely not expecting, seeing as he was forced to guard most of the attacks Krillin threw at him. Another way that Goku underestimated Krillin was in how well he and Android 18 could work as a team, their joint attacks and strategies making for a much tougher match, even for someone as strong as Goku. In other words, Android 18 and Krillin's skill as a team more than exceeded Goku's expectations, showing that the two of them were a powerful force when working together to beat the snot out of Goku. And if that's not love, we don't know what is. Gohan versus Krillin. As we just mentioned, Krillin's training for the Tournament of Power mostly consisted of sparring with his teammates, the first bout being with Goku and the second being with Gohan. The reason for this match was that Gohan had been dubbed Captain of Team Universe 7, and in order to properly assess Krillin's skills and how he should work with a team strategy, he wanted to spar with him, leading to a short but exciting match where Gohan underestimated his father's old friend. During their sparring match, Gohan was surprised and impressed by Krillin's power, skills, and strategy. Specifically, Krillin managed to beef up the solar flare technique and used it to not only blind Gohan, but also mask his energy presence, making for a super effective distraction that allowed him to knock Gohan out of the makeshift ring they were sparring in. Even before Krillin broke out this attack, it was clear that Gohan had been underestimating him as an opponent, since he opted to pull his punches at the start of the fight, a decision that Krillin noticed, prompting Gohan to fight him for real. Despite Gohan being back in fighting shape at this point, he still managed to lose to Krillin because he severely underestimated underestimated him. Seriously, how did he fall for a solar flare attack? That's one of the oldest tricks in the Dragon Ball book. So, there you have it, all the times Krillin proved his doubters wrong. Which of these moments was your favorite? Did we leave any out? Do you think these prove that Krillin's the strongest human of all? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more Dragon Ball videos. Thanks for watching.